Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Are We There Yet podcast. I'm your host, Susan Ruth.
And I'm Mara Adelman. And we are two humans who are going to have the real conversations and try and answer all of the questions that are raised by people about where the there really is when it comes to dating, relationships, and sex.
Yahoo! Welcome to episode 2. Man, I feel like a woman.
Like a woman, except for I don't feel like a woman right now, which is the topic we're going to talk about. I feel a little more in my masculine energy, been running around a lot. So let's do this little mantra that I came up with myself. So this always puts me a little more in my feminine energy. So anybody who's listening, try to take just like a deep diaphragmatic, big breath in and put your shoulders down and back and relax them down and say to yourself, it's all going to be okay. And then do it one more time. And that feeling right there to me is feminine energy. And I am horrible at it. Do you feel like you tend to run a little more masculine as well? Or should I give us
100% yes. When I exhaled, I felt like crying. So I definitely was in my feminine energy when I had to say, I will be okay. Really? I don't know if I will.
Really? I hope so. God. Well, that's why we have to say it to ourselves, right? Like it's all going to be okay.
All going to be okay.
This was an aha moment for me, just learning about this concept. And I am going to have to put my glasses on and look at these notes at some point because it's a new concept for me. And a lot of people I talk to don't understand that both men and women carry these energies.
All people.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Non-binary. Everybody has these energies. And one is usually a little more dominant. But we all have them both. And so for the masculine energy, it's that doing, driving, working, providing, all the stuff I did all day, picking up dog poop, woohoo! Like it's all that stuff that doesn't feel very much, well, for me at least, very much fun. And then you've got the feminine side, which is the creating and the intuition, the knowing in your gut, the creating part is crazy. Think about it. What do women do? They create life. That's super feminine. And they don't have to think about it. It just, I mean, you know, it happens and take your prenatals and hopefully it all works out, but you're not.
Not all women create life though. I don't create life.
No, sorry. I don't either. Yeah, I don't either. I have not, and I will never create life. But that is the most, to me, feminine thing, right? They're creating a little being in there. And so the problem is that a lot of women run around in their masculine energy. I do, where I'm constantly doing, and I forget to go back into my feminine. What do you feel like puts you in your feminine?
Well, I think too, it's important to note that feminine, masculine energy have nothing to do with gender.
No, they do not. No.
So that's important to note.
Although I'm going to generalize a lot back and forth because men tend to be more masculine and women tend to be more feminine.
And for me, it's a good question. I think it depends on what I'm doing. I channel my masculine energy when I want to be a boss bitch. I channel my feminine energy when I want to walk into a room and own it in a powerful, sexy, sexual way.
Right.
You know, and in my body, grounded in my root me-ness.
Yeah, the me-ness.
You know, I might swing my hips a little more. I mean, I don't even know honestly, I don't know. I think
Don't they call those feminine guiles? Is that the word?
Yeah, maybe.
When we're all
the veils. I get my veils out and start dancing.
I just think it's an interesting concept because so many of my clients, patients, and friends as women are like, I don't feel sexual. And then I tied it back all of a sudden to, if you're always up here going, and you're not relaxing and being in yourself, your brain is not going to cooperate. Does that make sense?
It's thinking, feeling, I suppose. Left brain, right brain, all that stuff, maybe.
Yes, I wrote that down because it was a newer concept for me. So like the left brain is that logical doing, I think, therefore I do, versus your right brain, your feminine more part of your brain, which is I feel the emotions and therefore I communicate. Therefore I feeling that being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I hear from a lot of my the people I talk to that this is a perfect example when you're looking at men and women dynamics, right? So the woman says, I had a rough day and you want to talk about it, right? And then the man wants to come around and fix it with his masculine fixing brain. And the woman's like, oh no, I just kind of really wanted you to hear me because I need loving and I need to get the emotions out, which is more of the feminine piece. Does that kind of make sense?
Sure. And again, I'll take gender out of it because I think some people want to fix things and some people want to just feel things and experience things.
Yes.
And so that's tough. That's the thing of where two people coming together with different agendas.
Yes. And I think it's good that you always take the gender out of it, because I just try to do that with anybody, with any conversation I have with somebody. I've been trying to learn that.
Yeah.
I would like you to just listen to me right now. I don't need advice, versus could really use your advice on this, please. Right? It changes the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Totally. I feel like as a kid, I was absolute 1000% boy energy, tomboy, making potions in the bedroom, science experiments. Not to say that women can't do science, but again, this isn't gender. This is this sort of rough and tumble energy. I have two big brothers. We lived across the street from the woods. I was always in the trees. I loved hanging out with boys way more than girls. I wasn't interested in the things that the girls that I was around was interested in.
Playing with Barbies like me and my sister were.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that stuff. My dad was my best friend, my big brother. I wanted to do everything that he could do. He's so much older than me, but I dressed in boyish clothes. I had a bowl haircut, which I did not want. My mother made me have. And honestly, up until, oh my gosh, honestly, I had really short hair in my 20s and stuff. I think that people thought I was a man from the back a lot anyway, because I'm tall and thin. And so when I had short hair, people thought I was a guy that said, oh, excuse me, sir. And I think when I'm out operating in the world, that I put off maybe a more masculine energy than feminine. But now I think I'm far more in touch with my feminine energy.
It is my number.
Like we talked about in episode 1, where I'm more in tune with just the whole of me.
The being of Susan.
The being of me. Yeah, that I'm more balanced. But I think I definitely fall into, we've talked about this before, the idea that I am into masculine energy. I'm attracted to masculine energy a lot. Yes. I was in a coffee shop once when I was traveling. There was a guy in front of me, so just oozing sex. He had a tight t-shirt. He was, had kind of a little bit of muscle, but sort of live, that nice cut kind of jeans, nice butt, standing all, strong. And all I could think is like, this guy is oozing sex. Like if he were to turn around, I didn't see his face. If he were to turn around right now, I think I would be like, oh, let's make out. In my mind, I'm building a fantasy about this guy in front of me. Totally. And then he turned around and it was a woman. I was like, wait, what?
But she's masculine.
So much masculine energy on this woman. And I thought, wow, that's something to know about myself. That was really interesting.
I also am attracted. That is interesting. And I have also found myself thinking that more masculine women are attractive, but I'm definitely attracted to masculine people. Like we said, take the gender out of it. But again, I'm a heterosexual female, so I'm attracted to masculine men, but I want them to just have a little dash of that feminine where they can,
but not too much.
Not too much, no, but just enough to have the conversations, to be a little bit in touch with their emotions, to want to understand that you have to put the work in a relationship in order to have it work. And a lot of that is emotional intelligence and being a little more on their feminine side, right?
And it feels anti-feminist to say, oh, I want a man's man, or, what do they call it? Alpha males. I mean, I don't want somebody that's out raping and pillaging, but I also like feeling,
I know,
in my I like being in my feminine energy. And so when I operate day-to-day stuff, if I'm understanding how you put it correctly, I'm in my masculine energy, working hard, getting things done, in control, that when it comes to being with a partner or a lover or whatever, you're done making the decisions for the day. You want to just somebody open my door for me and say, we're going here for dinner, and me going, yes, Okay, that's great.
I want somebody to plan stuff sometimes. I want to feel like, yes, in the bedroom, I want a little more of them taking charge. I want to be able to lean back a little bit more. And so, because I think we're so more in our masculine energy, that might be helpful to have somebody who's more masculine to remind us that we need to go feminine. And I need to learn, I'm going to remind myself. I had a lot of thinking about this when I was listening to stuff about feminine energy. These are the things that make me feel more feminine. Stretching, breathing, all the ings, but not the bad ings, like the smoking and the drinking, like the focusing in on yourself, meditating, sexing, masturbating, all those things that are just a little more actually creating content for the podcast to me feels feminine and fun. But like you said, when you're going to teach me how to upload and do the editing, that feels super masculine and like not quite as good for me, right? I'll still learn, I promise. But so those things that make me feel feminine, I need to focus in on them more.
Yeah.
I also find that maybe, and this was just something I was thinking about, where I'm turning off men sometimes because I leave no space for them to be masculine because I'm so busy doing it all.
I've listened to a podcast. I think we listened to the same one, actually. A woman was talking about that, about the idea that men, and again, we're generalizing, attracted to women who are not, they think they want a boss lady, but in fact, they don't want a boss lady unless they're really ready for a boss lady.
Yes, I hear that.
But women have been taught their whole lives to be less than and around men, be dumber and be, don't talk, don't take up too much room. It's the same feeling that kids get. Seen and not heard.
But I am going to focus in on a little bit on that because I find that it calms my anxiety, that I feel a little more maybe back in the center instead of so masculine. I want to be in the center. I also don't want to be, no offense, I don't want to be super feminine and not be able to take care of my shit. I got a lot of stuff to take care of. So, and then that goes back to a lot of my clients who are women who say to me, I don't feel like sex and my man feels like sex. And I said, well, being a mom, especially doing cleaning, going, planning. They said the planning. This one lady was like, honestly, the sexiest thing my man could do was do the dishes and plan something so I can just be in my feminine energy. And so I explained to her, tell him that because your man wants more sex. And if he can get you into a more feminine brain space where you're breathing and you're in the moment and paying attention to your senses, then maybe you'll want more sex, right? And then maybe the dynamic in your relationship will be fixed.
A friend of mine who had a kid, she said that for her, it was really tough because all day long, her kid was just wanting to touch her and be on her and play with her hair and, grab at her and be picked up and all this stuff. So that she was so overstimulated that by the time her husband came home, the idea of anything touching her, she was just so at a DEFCON 10.
Yeah, I hear that from so many people.
Yeah.
One more thing. Now it's the end of the night and I'm exhausted and now it's your turn. It starts to feel like a chore. So I am not sure this is the answer, but I do think couples understanding their masculine and feminine energy and figuring out how to balance it better within their relationship might allow people to have better sex relationships within their relationships.
And also know, I think too, the intimacy that fosters sexual encounters isn't the thing that happens 10 minutes before you're trying to get laid. It's happening all the time.
Yes.
It's happening all the time.
So true. And so maybe that, again, if we're talking a male and female relationship, if the male is doing a little bit of more of that, well, actually that goes to another point, which I had to write down, but that
I love those glasses on you.
I actually need them now. I used to once upon a time wear them for fun. And now I'm like, no, I really can't see without them. There was something about, that masculine and feminine energy also have different desires. So for instance, masculine energy wants to be respected, appreciated, able to feel a little bit more freedom in their actions, while feminine energy wants to feel cherished, romanced, connected, safe. And so you're right, in a relationship, if that's happening more like throughout the day, these desires being matched for each other, it might be a little more successful for people.
And I think one of the biggest concerns that I've heard about and read in books, articles, listened to on podcasts is men feeling like their feminine energy isn't being supported from women.
Oh,
That
they're
they're just
feminine.
expected, they come home and it's just honeydew, honeydew, honeydew list. And instead of, honey, can I make you a cocktail, or can I rub your feet, or I know you had a long day, do you want to talk about it, or whatever it is, to understand that they also have that side of them that is suppressed.
Yeah. And they want to feel appreciated. You're
Feminine
right.
energy is vilified, right? For the most part. And even, I mean, look how we treat pregnant women. You bring up pregnant women, look how we treat them. Oh, hide your body, shameful body. You're getting fat, or you're getting big. The maternity clothes,
Don't
they're
breastfeed
getting
in
better
public.
at that.
God forbid you feed your child in public, kind of. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. And then it's become something yucky or gross. And how many people are like, oh, I don't want to have sex with the mother of my child. They just gave birth to my child. It's weird. I'm not going to put my, fingers or my penis or my tongue into this sacred mother.
Right. That's a whole other topic of, where it falls between the sexy. Yeah. I just lost my sex kitten and now I have a mother in the house and I don't feel like having sex anymore.
That's weird, right? That's got to be a weird adjustment for a person.
We haven't had to experience that, but I'm assuming it would also be really sad as a woman that feeling that is actually another masculine feminine dynamic that comes up. I had a client who her husband didn't want to have sex as often as she did. And so she felt like she was always initiating, but she wanted to be in her feminine energy and feel like he was initiating. And then it got to the point where he really just kind of wasn't as interested. As women, I think we take that a lot harder because it's expected of men to be ready to go at all times, which is not a true statement.
But I think you really touch on something, no pun intended, right there, because men, there's an expectation of men to, as you say, be ready at a moment's notice. And there's a lot of sexual dysfunction out there.
Yeah.
And that gives anxiety. That's why that little blue pill is so popular, even amongst young men who you wouldn't think have an issue with erectile dysfunction do, because they've got pressures and things going on. And, as we all know, if we slip into our brain, our body says, oh, I guess we're not doing this right now. And then
our brain is our largest sex.
It's the irony, right? The brain being the largest sex organ. Otherwise people wouldn't be able to have wet dreams without any kind of stimulation. They're orgasming.
I know.
And yet if you go into your brain while you're trying to be intimate, it kills the mood a lot of times.
I know. What makes you feel more feminine? Like what calms you down and gives you that energy?
That's a great question. For me, oh boy, I don't even know. I don't think I've ever thought about how to articulate it. I enjoy, oh God, I don't know how to answer that. Isn't that funny?
It's okay.
For me, it's a powerful place. Feminine energy is so much power to wield.
Yeah, it is.
I feel that I like to walk into a room. I get anxiety sometimes when I have to go into a party or something. Mm-hmm. And I grew up, I did runway modeling as a kid, right? And they teach you how to walk and how to do all that stuff. And you are basically a coat hanger for the clothing, but you also have to put off a vibe of this cool femininity, power. It's like this weird, it's super goddess energy, right?
So that's something you learn. Are you making it? Are you faking it till you make it, or do you actually?
So yeah. So when I go into something, if I have anxiousness, I flip that switch in my brain where I walk in and I am then on the runway. I'm channeling that hyper goddess.
Like that also sounds like masculine doing, because it's like something you learned, right? Well,
but the goddess is it is masculine and feminine together. That's why some of the great Hindu gods, for example, are sort of a combo of the two. It's like that is the ultimate power, that masculine and feminine together. You walk in, you're commanding, but you also have a swing and a sway. I don't know how to explain it. But I do feel like walking can really encapsulate it. And being playful. Playfulness.
Yes, playfulness is super feminine. I don't play enough. I brought that up with a friend of mine. I was like, I've got my animals and I want to play with. So I've been trying to play more, just like be more playful in general, because life is so busy, right? You forget to play. We're grown-ups. I want to play more. For me, definitely at the end of the night, like when everything's all done and it's like, and I feel like I switch back into my feminine energy, but you can't stay there all the time or nothing. I wouldn't get anything done.
You wouldn't get anything done. I have a lot of playful energy. I think I am good at that. I see the world as a playground a lot of times. And my biggest recommendation for anyone, male or female, is when you're to take a walk, make it a 10-minute walk. Just practice this. Go outside without your phone and just look around at things. Look at the trees, touch the bark as you go by, watch the dog and smile at the dog, get into that childlike wonder.
You see me just take a deep breath. You already relaxed me. That
I'm all about childlike wonder. I think it's so important, especially if you were raised and your child, the little girl or little boy or whatever, however you identify, the little person in you didn't get to have that very often because you were either in fight or flight mode all the time, or maybe you were supposed to be studious all the time, or whatever it is, that you maybe never even learned how to be playful and in your childlike energy.
I'm going to show you this picture I found the other day, because I found this picture and I thought this was part of what I was going to work on while I was working on feminine energy, was I was going to try to channel my younger self. I must have been like maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 here. I don't know if you could see it. And I'm like laughing and so happy.
That's great. Great outfit too.
And feminine. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try to remember this picture and channel that. But you said it, nature's my church. So for me, anytime and this stuff makes my heart hurt. I hate technology. I use it as needed, but this to me feels very masculine, and it's doing and people are scrolling. So I feel like, yes, the more we can be in touch with nature and our feminine side, that
breathing is a big thing. I like that. Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And so
presence, absolute presence. When you eat a thing, taste it. When you look at a thing, see it. Yeah. When you listen to a thing, hear it.
So do you do that automatically because of this podcast? I'm going to thank this podcast. Also, after what was happening in Ukraine, I've started when I sit down to a meal with myself, I actually stop for a minute and kind of am thankful for the fact that I have food and a house and all these things. And then the food tastes better, but it puts you into that feminine moment. You're right, being in the moment. So have you always done these practices?
Done them for a long time. I was at a dinner party a while back at my friend's house, and we were going around the table talking about things, and everyone was sort of at a rush, and we were going around the table talking about different things that we enjoy in life. And I said, I enjoy food meditation. And everyone said, what's that? And I said, all right, let's practice. And so I said, all right, I want everybody to just get quiet for a second and pick something off of your plate and put it in your mouth. And I want you to experience that moment. Where on your tongue are you feeling it? Where in your mouth? How does it make you salivate? What do you smell something? What is happening in your body as you experience that bite? And everybody was like, wow, this is so cool. I never thought about that. You eat unconsciously all the time. And it's really something.
I'm working on actually not doing that anymore. That I'm trying to be much more conscious of that. There's actually a term for that. It's called grounding. So that grounds you. And that's super feminine energy.
Well, and food has such a heavy impact, no pun intended, on human beings, because again, it's one of those things where we've gotten messages from the get-go that food is shame.
Yes.
Whether you're eating really great and praises you for eating so well, wow, you have a great diet, you eat really well, or oh, that's so crappy, or judging yourself.
I know.
Guilty pleasure, or there's so much shame around
bad foods, all of that.
Yeah.
I like it that you can ground yourself and pull that like out of food. I'm going to keep working on it. This has been helpful. I hope it's been helpful to other people. I feel like that's I feel like I've covered everything I know about the topic, but I'm not going to stop learning about the topic because I think it's a huge piece in being in a healthy relationship is understanding your different energies like that.
Absolutely. I think it's good to pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
And even just being active in your body and saying, oh, I'm in my feminine energy right now. Oh, I'm in my masculine energy
Yes.
right now.
When I breathe deep, it automatically takes you to feminine. So I'm going to, first of all, focus on just breathing more. I tell all my patients to do it, but we're not always so good about doing what we tell people to do.
So if you're getting in the mood for sex, let's say, but you're in your feminine energy and yet you're also really present, is that in that moment, I think you might be both. Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe the thing that turns you on, like for a man, for somebody male identifying, it's the masculine energy is what is getting them going in the beginning. And for female identifying, it's the feminine energy getting them. But once you're in the process, I think it's all one big happy, if it's a pleasurable experience.
Yeah. I like the things that make my brain turn off, and that is one of them. And when my brain turns off, I feel more feminine. So I don't know whether I'm masculine in that moment. When I eventually get to have sex again, I will let you know.
Are you usually the aggressor just across the board with sex, or usually let people wait? Because I know what you prefer, but because you just said, but what do you find yourself?
I prefer for the masculine energy, for the man I'm with to have more masculine energy and be a little bit more of the pursuer. Because we'll talk about this in a later podcast. There's the sexual response cycles. And for women, a lot of times we have to feel some desire before we get interested in the concept of sex, right? And for me, it causes me to feel desire because somebody is interested and excited about it. But I have also been the aggressor. Nothing is worse than when a guy tells you no. Oy vey. That doesn't make you feel very feminine, honey. I'm not in the mood right now. It has not happened a lot to me in my, in long-term relationships. Guys can be out not in the mood also, right?
That's the thing, right? They're allowed to. Everyone is allowed to have dominion over their body and their feelings. And we have these incredible and destructive expectations on people and how they're supposed to behave or be. And that's the downfall of us. Yeah.
I also feel bad that you're right, men have to feel like they have to stay in their masculine all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've dated some people that can I think it's that when they walk in the door and they get a big hug and I feel like they want to let their guard down too. And I feel as women that we're very lucky because we do a lot more communicating with our friends about these things. We talk about these things. You and I have talked about this, where I feel like a lot of men right now are kind of broken and having a harder time than we are even. And we're already having a hard time as women trying to do all of this, because I don't feel like they've never been allowed to feel. Be masculine, don't cry, you're a boy, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
And so I do hope that over time, maybe we all get to be somewhere right in the middle.
Right.
That's my,
it does. It pains me to think that men don't have the same sort of network that they've been taught that, we laugh it off and, punch each other in the testicles and ha ha ha, or whatever it is. So that's not dealing with your feelings, of course.
Not dealing with your feelings.
But I think it's changing. That's like anything else. We're hopefully growing as a species.
Yeah. And in the middle is masculine and feminine instead of masculine, feminine. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. I'm going to keep working on it. And then in 2 weeks, May is masturbation month. So
it's not true.
It's true. There is a National Masturbation Day on May 28th. So make sure you make some time for that. And we're going to talk about the big O. So all the things that come along with that coming up next.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate it. Please spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family, let everybody know.
We're going to have a lot of fun. Lots more fun topics to come that hopefully bring people closer to togetherness.
Yes.
I like the idea of just everybody stay connected.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Take care.